Hey guys, my name is Ryan and welcome to Overwatch Central. Today I wanted to sit down with a friend of ours, Iostux, who was a private coach as most of you know, and is now one of the main coaches for New York XL's academy team, XL2. I wanted to get a professional opinion on the hero balance changes that we've had, the big swing in meta, the Sombra coming out more, Hammond, what exactly his breakdown of all of that was, and also talk about what heroes could be used more in the future. And he does give a good mention to MCCREE and Soldier and how they can have a resurgence in popularity and why Symmetra hasn't been played yet. We also go over the big question of why you should care a little bit more about the pro scene, even if you're all the way down into silver or bronze or don't even play ranked at all, and how much of an effect it will have on your games regardless of the SR difference between you. You can check out Iostux's details in the description below, but let's get started. So we've had you on the channel a few times now, Iostux. We don't really need to do introductions, we've kind of gone over it at the start of today's video. The first question that I want to ask you, we get this question a lot. Why should people, if they're playing in like silver, gold or plat, wherever, why should they care about the pro meta and what the pros are doing?
Okay, so obviously being good plays a huge part in how many games you win and what rating you'll end up in, but players that pick the strongest characters and that are aware of like the synergies between characters that exist are always going to have the edge, right? So the general player base might think that a certain character is very weak or very strong, right? One example would be Ana, for example, is actually getting a lot more playtime now than Mercy. That's not a coincidence. Okay, I still see people message me, how can I convince my teammates in solo queue that I'm not throwing the game by picking Ana over Mercy, right? That stigma still exists. But with the changes, and especially the changes that have, come recently with patch 1.27, Ana is just so good, especially compared to Mercy. So while you shouldn't always copy what the pros do, you should value their opinion very highly, and you should put your trust that what they pick for a reason. Right,
but I kind of guess that goes on to the area, I think people have that connotation, I guess, of I'm in plat, the pro players, what they do has no effect on me. You've coached like plat players all the way down to like bronze on a private basis before you coach pro teams. Is that true? Does what the pros play have any effect on people lower than, let's say, diamond?
Yeah, it does. It definitely does. The players at those lower ranks, they're still playing the same game, right? Sure, communication is a bit worse, teamwork is a bit worse, but like the raw value that you get out of the characters is the same across all ratings, right? So at least compared to the enemies you're facing. So, the soldier buffs, pros don't have a different soldier than you do, right? If soldier is strong to them or stronger to them than, another character, then that's also going to be the same case for you. It's not just because people like to imitate the pros because they want to be the pros, but it's just what sticks, right? So players who play these characters tend to have more success because those characters are stronger. And you know that they're stronger because pros decide to play them. Again, there are some exceptions where a character might be strong in pro play and not so strong in solo queue, but I really think that the only example since the game's launch would be new Sombra that has different levels of strength, whether she's played in a coordinated team or not, and maybe new Symmetra because you need to set some stuff up with your teleporter.
Okay, that's sort of eloquently put. You mentioned Symmetra in there, and real quick I wanted to get your perspective. She hasn't been played in contenders at all. She is unlocked. She is available to play. Is she not being played because she's just completely trash and the worst rework ever? Or has she not been played because, it's a recent patch, players are still getting used to her and working out where she's going to be good?
It's a recent patch. I can tell you...
she's not trash. She's not trash at all.
No. Quite far from it. And I think on some maps, King's Row, for example, she could become, very meta-defining. The reason Symmetra isn't picked is because when we got the news that the playoffs, so the quarter and semifinals, were running on the new patch, which included Symmetra and Hammond, right? The matches before that, we played on a different patch. We didn't have new Symmetra, we didn't have Hammond. And we got the news 1 week before our matches. So we had 1 week to go through all of those changes and figure out what would work. right? And as a pro team, you can't just, take whatever character is strongest and then go with them, right? You need to have some sort of preparation. And if you have only 1 week's time, you need to find a balance of picking new characters that are strong, but you also need to pick team compositions that your team is going to be somewhat familiar with. Or you play compositions like Hammond Doomfist Sombra, which we've also seen, where no real team play is needed, right? There's like some small, synergies between characters, but every character kind of just does their own thing, right? There's not a lot of practice and synergy building that you have to do, but Symmetra is on the complete other end of the spectrum. Symmetra is a character that you can't just... In a pro league, of course. In solo queue, it's different. You can play Symmetra whenever you feel like it. But in a pro league, the only way you can play Symmetra is if you have set strategies predetermined, mainly referring to a teleporter, right? So you need to know, or your team needs to know, where you're going to use your teleporter, how you want to use it, how often you're going to use it, once you're going through the teleporter, who's going to go through the teleporter? Is everyone going to go through? Are we going to leave the supports behind? How are we going to react once we're through the teleporter? Are we going to play slow, play aggressive, right? Those are all questions that need to be asked.
Okay, now I want to go through the two patches that we're kind of playing on at the moment. You have 1.26, which is what you guys are playing on Contenders. Then you also have the 1.27 patch, which is on live. This includes the Ana buff to having targets healed with Nano Boost, Lucio buff, Mercy nerf. Obviously, you're sort of preparing on the patch that you're playing on currently, which is one behind, but what changes stand out for you and you think will really impact the game that maybe people are kind of sleeping on a little bit?
So the main change, so most of the changes don't matter. The only changes that do, I think, mostly matter are going to be the support changes. And so Goat's comp, which is the three supports, 3 tank, right? The Reinhardt, Zarya, Brigitte, and you just slam yourself into the enemy team, right? That comp is usually run with Lucio, because the speed boost allows you to ram into the enemy team, Moira, because the team sticks together, so she can get a lot of value out of her healing, even Ana, right? Because her sleep dart and her anti-nade are going to give her a lot of opportunity to, create openings to speed into people, right? So Goat's comp is usually paired with those supports who are all getting buffed. Lucio's getting buffed, Moira's getting buffed, Ana's getting buffed. And one of the main counters to Goats are usually spam comps, mainly Junkrat and Pharah. And those are both characters whose strength scales very, very steeply if they have a Mercy protecting them. They're very similar to snipers in that way, right? Whenever you're running a sniper, if you want to run a Hanzo or a Widow, then a Mercy is almost mandatory. She's just too good. The synergy is there. But Mercy is the one support next to Brig, I guess, that's getting nerfed, right? And as such, all of a sudden playing a Pharah or playing a Junkrat is going to be not as strong anymore, while Goats is becoming even stronger. So on the newest patch, Goats is probably going to be one of the strongest comps until teams... once the patch is live, of course, right? We don't know when that's going to happen. Maybe in the next contender season. Once that patch goes live, I think Goats is probably going to be run a lot. But yeah, we don't know yet, right? So we're playing on a completely different patch. We can't really prepare. Or there's no point in preparing for that patch yet, because why would you prepare for a patch we're not going to play, right? So we can't tell you exactly. We don't have any, we haven't actually tried it. But I would say that's my educated guess. Goats is going to be very strong.
I think that would be easy to spot that would be the case. There must be some elements in there that pique your interest in compositions or styles that we've not seen before. Not to sort of bring out any hidden strategies that you may have, but there must be something over either this patch or last patch, a certain hero, a certain exploit you could see happening. You mentioned May in the last video that we covered being somewhat stronger than people maybe let on, and people are really interested in that. Is there somebody in this patch that is kind of been slept on and you feel, Ana, for example, could be really, really meta given the situation?
So I still think that if Goats ends up becoming meta, that May is going to be a decent pick. I really do think that Mei is a pretty good pick against goats. But the argument isn't whether she's a good pick. The argument is, couldn't we just run goats ourselves and then, be better than the enemy team, right? So that's probably one of the questions people have to be asking. I guess a sleeper pick that people haven't really been thinking about, probably MCCREE, actually.
So what's MCCREE's problem? Because MCCREE has been played a little bit in the pro scene in certain areas, is a lot stronger than he used to be. Why is he being used, but why isn't he being used a lot more? And what about Soldier too?
Very weird. He doesn't really have any mobility whatsoever, I guess, next to his combat role, which is kind of not that great. His ultimate is just, again, not that great. He was overall just not that great of a character. But now on certain maps, MCCREE does actually start to look pretty good against still. He's one of the characters that does rely on a mercy damage boost to really get like his complete potential. But I think MCCREE is going to be a pick that people might see, as well as Soldier. So both of the hitscan characters that got buffed, people haven't really been paying attention to as much. But, once the Ana buff comes out, maybe some people remember it from a while back. The nano boost, the nano visor, right? So combining Ana and Soldier's ultimate. That used to be a very strong combo that we would see very, very often in high level play. I think that might come back again. I don't know on which maps, but I'm pretty sure that teams are at least going to experiment with some sort of Ana Soldier compositions.
Where would that be useful though? Like, would that be good against Goats Comp, do you think?
It would be good on maps where Goats Comp isn't inherently strong. So Goats
where they can't reach you.
Exactly. So Goats has no verticality whatsoever. I guess one example that I can give would be, I'm going to use a map that's not in the map pool, so as to not give away any strats, but if we take Numbani, for example, if you were to defend the first point of Numbani on the new patch, I think that Ana Soldier might be really good, because Goats is incredibly weak on the first point of Numbani. There's just no way they can get to the high ground. You need a composition that has some sort of verticality, right? So running something like Lucio Ana Soldier, right? The Lucio just being able to deny the enemy team, the dive. I think that could work really well. Where it wouldn't work really well are very, very, flat and closed maps, where Goats would be very strong. I think, Lijiang Control Center might be a pretty good example of that. That's kind of a very Goats heavy map, because it's very, very narrow, very small, very enclosed. So Goats really shines there. So that's probably a map where, Soldier isn't going to be as good. So it really depends on how much high ground the map has and how long the sight lines are before you, see the enemy.
So you think there could be a resurgence of MCCREE and Soldier and hitscan in general then?
I do think so. As one of the biggest weaknesses that Soldier and MCCREE had was that a while back, snipers were just superior in every single way. And as I mentioned earlier, snipers rely a lot on a mercy damage boost, right? There's a lot of synergy. But with Mercy getting nerfed, and with Hammond being in the game now, which is arguably a hard counter against snipers,
is that why we've seen less double sniper in the contenders then?
Yes. Because what most teams did, and I'm pretty sure I can share this, is, some teams tried running double sniper, but then the other team just ran, the strat that you saw. The King's Row, I think, is a good example. Some teams were experimenting with double sniper, and then the other team just pulled out Hammond, Doomfist, right, just for the gist of it. And they were completely smacking all over it, right? I mean, Hammond, for example, if he's afraid that he's like, normally if a Roadhog, for example, were to run towards a Widowmaker to kill her, he would eat headshots, right? He would get bursted down super hard. Hammond's head is in a ball, right? Which makes him a natural counter to snipers. So, and snipers were really good against the hitscan characters because of the extended range. A Soldier or a MCCREE isn't going to win a 1v1 against a Widowmaker or a Hanzo as long as they choose their battles wisely. But now that snipers aren't as good, that they aren't as picked, as much anymore, I do think that there could be that we might see more hit scan. Again, it's very early. We just finished the semifinals. We're very happy that we did made the finals, of course. So we need to start thinking about that pretty soon. But it's still pretty early to say what is going to be meta. However, by the time the finals do run around, at least for the previous patch, we're going to see how the game is going to get shaped in the future.
Amazing. And finally, I guess, when can people find you? You don't really stream or make YouTube videos anymore, so
I am very busy. Yes, I think the best way to follow what me and my team does, and if you want to see the dankest behind the scenes information of contenders, you can always follow me at Iostux_coaching. That's pretty much the only thing. I also have a Discord if you want to link that below in the description, where I actually answer questions. I've created a channel called #AskStux, where people can just ping me and then I usually reply within like a day or so. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
And that's it for this time. Thank you very much for watching. You can check out all of Iostux's details in the description below, like I said, and I want to know what you think of all of this in the comments below. Thanks for watching, take care, we'll see you next time.